This video covers assignment 18.1. We're only going to work a certain percentage of problems here, and then you're going to use the rest of class to fill in the other problems. So the first one we're going to work is number 2. Now, all of these problems in Unit 18, just to give you a quick heads up, all of these in Unit 18 are all released EOC questions. So every single question that you're going to see in Unit 18 has been asked on the EOC in the last 5 years. So by the time we get done with this unit, you will have seen every EOC question that's ever been asked. So you need to make sure that you are really putting forth effort on these. You're writing your work to get your credit. You want to make sure you're using your time wisely to read through these problems and understand them. And make sure you understand what we're going over. So I've picked a couple problems that I want to go over after working through them to make sure that you understand these problems, and then you should be able to fill in some of the other ones. So for number 2, an organization has a monthly budget of X dollars. Every month, $2,070 is spent on salaries. 1/4 of the remaining budget is spent on monthly activities. Which function can be used to find the amount in dollars spent on monthly activities? So we're starting with a monthly budget of X. That's an unknown. Then they're spending $2,070. So when you spend money, we take it away. Now, if we knew what that remainder would be, we would say equals whatever, but we don't know what that is yet. Now, 1/4 of what remains is going to be spent. Well, if the first thing I'm looking at is just the subtraction part, I can automatically cancel out answers A and C because they don't have you taking away money as being spent. They're having you add money. Well, X is how much you start with, and if you're spending, you have to take it away because you don't have it anymore. And then if we look at B and D, the only one that has the unknown amount taking out what we do know is answer choice D. Now, what this looks like is the amount we start with, taking out the amount we've spent, and then that 1/4 of what's left. So they're taking what's left and dividing it by 4. So that's what that one looks like. The next one we're going to do is number 5. So on that same page, a manager purchased a total of 21 coffee mugs and keychains. Each coffee mug costs $8.50. Each keychain costs $2.75. If the manager spent a total of $132.50, how many coffee mugs did the manager purchase? So we've seen a problem like this before. They are asking about coffee mugs. So my variables are going to be C or whatever you want it to be for coffee mugs. And we know information about coffee mugs and keychains. So I'll use a K for keychains. Now we've talked about with systems, and I know it was back in December, what we've talked about, if you have 3 sets of money, those are all going to go together in a money equation. So coffee mugs are $8.50 times an unknown amount of mugs. Keychains are $2.75 times an unknown amount of keychains ordered. And my total money, money plus money equals total money, is $132.50. Now, if I've used those numbers, I can't use them again. So I need to be looking for what other number have I not used. The only other thing I haven't used is a total of 21. Totals go on the outside, and it tells us there was a total of 21 coffee mugs. We don't know how many, which is why we use the letter C, and keychains. We don't know how many, which is why we use the letter K. Now, the way this is set up, it is perfect for matrices. So if you'll hop over to your calculator, I'm not even going to make you write the matrix we use, but you can go ahead and write it for your notes if you want. So to do matrices, we click second matrix. Remember that blue button right here, blue button and the blue word. Scroll to the right for math and scroll up to option B, the really rapid equation fixer. From there, we click alpha zoom. We want 2 rows and 3 columns. So we change the columns to 3 and click OK. And then I type in my numbers, 850, 275, 132.50, 1 coffee, 1 key, and $21. So you don't have to write this, but if you need it, this is what we're typing in. Okay. From my calculator, I click enter. Remember, 1001 means it's normal, so I'm really looking at the 13 and the 8. Now, the order in which they pop out is the same order I put them in. So I put in C, then K, so it comes out C, then K. So when they want to know how many coffee mugs, my answer would be 13, not 8. This one does not have an A, B, C, D answer choice because this was a griddable. So you need to make sure you would be able to write 1, 3 and bubble it in. Next, we're going to look at number 7. Which equation in standard form has a graph that passes through the point -4, 2 and has a slope of 9/2? So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and write my equation using point slope form that is on your formula chart. So y minus the y in my point equals m, which is slope, x minus the x in my point. Remember, in point slope, you plug in your points as opposites. So 2 turns into a -2, -4 turns into a +4. From here, I'm going to solve for y. So I distribute 9/2 times x, and then 9/2 times 4. So that would be 18. Move that 2. So y is going to equal 9/2 x plus 20. Now, when I look at my answer choices, none of them look like this. They are all in standard form. Remember, standard form, as you can see from all of your answer choices, is x and y equals an answer, and you can't have any fractions. So the first thing I'm going to do right now, x and y are on opposite sides, so I'm going to go ahead and move x to the same side as y. And remember, just like we've been doing, anytime you cross that equal sign, you change the sign on your problem. So that positive 9/2 turns into a negative. And then the last thing is, if you notice, none of these x's have 9/2. They all have 9. So I got to get rid of the negative and the 2. So I'm going to multiply everything by -2. Because in my calculator, if I have -9/2 and I multiply it by -2, I have that 9x, which all of my answer choices are starting from. Now I need to do that to the rest of them, because if you only do it to one, you've messed up the problem. But if you do it to the rest of them, you've made it equivalent. So -2 times y is a -2y. All of my answer choices have that. And then -2 times 20 is a -40. So C would be my answer for number 7. Next, we're going to flip to number 19, so a little bit further in your packet. So here we go, page 6, number 19. Number 19 says a circle has a radius of 6x to the 9, y to the 5 centimeters. The area of the circle can be found using a equals pi r squared. What is the area of this circle in square centimeters? So what I'm going to do is take my radius right here and plug in for the radius here. So my area equals pi and then my radius squared. Now, if you look at all of your answer choices really quickly, if you notice, they all have pi's listed in the answer. That means I can just leave this pi alone and not have to worry about that. So all I'm really doing is squaring everything in the parentheses. So 6 gets a squared. Notice it is 6 with a little 2. 6 gets a little 2. When I click enter, that gives me 36. I can immediately mark off A and D because they don't have that 36 there. Then when I look at C and B, the only difference is those exponents. So if I look, x's and y's are different, I really only have to solve one of them. So when you have your exponents power to a power, you multiply, and this is on your formula chart. So 9 gets multiplied by 2, which means B is going to be my answer. Same thing with the y's. So if you are the kind of person who can say, hey, these are right next to each other, so I need to multiply, and you get B because of the y's instead of the x's, no problem. With this one, you don't really have to work out the entire problem because just one part cancels out, like knowing 36 cancels out A and D, and then knowing an X or a Y cancels out C. Okay, and then flip a little bit more to problem 22. We got another systems problem here that I want to make sure you are ready for. It tells us a sports magazine prints 12 issues per year, and a technology magazine prints 10 issues per year. A total number of pages in all the issues of the sports for 1 year is 32 more than the total pages of the technology magazine for 1 year. Which system of equations can be used to find S, the number of pages in each issue of the sports magazine, and T, the number of pages in each issue of the technology magazine? So, man, that's a lot of words, right? Let's break it down. First thing, they tell me S is going to equal sports, and T is going to equal technology. So let me see if I can mark anything out here. They tell me up at the top, sports has 12. So I'm looking for a 12 and an S to go together, and technology has 10. So I'm looking for a 10 and a T to go together. So if I look, C does not have 10 and T together. And same thing with D. D has your T's and your S's with the opposite numbers. So I immediately can kind of ignore all of these words just for a second and look at what's going on here, okay? Then another important piece, excuse me, if I'm looking at A and B, the bottoms look kind of similar and the tops look kind of similar. They have the minus 18. It's just which one goes on the outside. So remember, whatever goes on the outside is the one you have more of, okay? And so if we find the 18, sports has 18 fewer than technology. So sports equals 18 fewer than technology is the way we can write that. So sports goes on the outside because has is the same as is, which means equals. So sports equals. Well, that's going to be answer choice A. So yes, there were a lot of words there, but I can kind of ignore some of them or skim through them to find the important ones that I need. And then the last one we're going to look at is 24. They ask, which expression is a factor of x squared minus 5x minus 6? Now, the problem here is you can't work backwards to multiply any of these, so we're going to have to factor this. So when we factor, we can use the box. Sum is in the center. Product is the 2 outside. Now, if you remember, if you start with a plain x squared, so we have a plain x squared here, that means whatever factors I get from my calculator are going to be my answer. So you actually don't really need the box. You can use it if it makes you feel more secure, but you don't absolutely have to do it. So in y equals, I put my product divided by x, put product. So negative 6 divided by x. I go to the table and I search for that sum of negative 5. So 1 minus 6 would give me negative 5. 1 minus 6 gives me negative 5. So that means my factors are going to be 1 and a minus 6. And the only one that matches is answer choice A. Now again, with this one, you do have to factor it in order to figure out which of these is the answer. We talked in Unit 17, sometimes you can work backwards with some multiple choice and kind of multiply or figure some things out. But this one, you can't work backwards, so you absolutely need to know how to multiply there.